Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Sam Hoyle and thank you for joining us. Cronkite News is committed to covering government news across the state. Tonight, a look back on stories including controversy over light rail expansion and efforts to help those who are hearing impaired for better informed voters.
There's a proposal to buy the Navajo generating station, which could save thousands of jobs.
Cronkite News reporter Amanda Mason was at the state capitol as 300 Native American coal workers rallied today to discuss their plans.
Yeah, the coal miners of NGS announced that the Middle River Power has submitted a proposal to buy the station. NGS is hoping to receive 90 days to help solidify the transition of ownership of the station.
Just 90 days! Just 90 days!
When the Navajo generating station was built back in 1976, the Navajo and Hopi tribes were promised 70 years of service. Many livelihoods are at stake, including that of Marcus Singer, a supervisor at Kayenta Coal Mine, and that coal mine's only customer is NGS. If that power plant shuts down, the mine would also close. Singer says he needs this job, the first one he's had that allows him to see his kids every night.
Yeah, growing up, I've always wanted to work at the mine. I mean, I went to school for mechanic and stuff like that, got my degree and got the opportunity to start with personal safety, and that was my chance to come back to Kayenta. I've always worked outside of the reservation, so it was nice to come back and be around family. It's a good place to work, and you know, it gives younger generations the ability to dream, to work on things beyond their imaginations.
Another job at risk is a truck driver of 30 years for the coal mine and local union president, Maria Justice, who says that the coal mine is a lifeline for the community.
And that's what I must emphasize. We are very proud workers. And the fact that we can work hard to provide for our own selves and ourselves. You know, we don't want a handout. We want to be able to provide for ourselves. And that's what we're after.
To protect these jobs, Vice Chairman of the Hopi tribe will continue to fight for the jobs of his people.
It wasn't off of our backs, the revenues of our coal, the affordability of what they did with the water negotiations. Phoenix and Tucson would not be what they are today.
Now, tomorrow, the coal miners and NGS supporters are having a meeting with Central Arizona Project to discuss the 90-day proposal. In the broadcast center, Amanda Mason, Cronkite News.
A new proposal from the Trump administration could throw a lifeline to the Navajo generating station by forcing utilities to buy a certain amount of power from coal-fired plants. But the plan has critics from left and right, and from energy executives to environmentalists, as Pat Plabetti reports from our Washington bureau.
The Trump administration plan to keep unprofitable coal and nuclear plants open wasn't aimed specifically at the Navajo generating station. However, it did catch the attention of the plant supporters. President Donald Trump has long been a vocal supporter of the coal industry.
We are going to put our coal miners back to work. They have not been treated well, but they're going to be treated well now.
On Friday, the president took the next step, ordering the Energy Department to take immediate steps to make power companies buy electricity from coal and nuclear plants. The directive calls a diverse energy grid a matter of national security. John Schilk, president and CEO of the Electric Power Supply Association, dismissed the national security claim.
The part of the Federal Power Act that's really supposed to be for very discrete emergencies, and experts across the spectrum in both parties have said there is no emergency that justifies the use of such extraordinary powers.
According to Schilk, this move is not only unprecedented, but would also drive up energy prices for all Americans.
Rates will go up substantially for consumers of all kinds, from small businesses to manufacturers to residences, because the whole point of the proposal is to force people to buy power that is now economic.
But to the Navajo Nation office here, the proposal offers hope for the Navajo generating station, a coal-burning power plant scheduled to close in 2019, taking thousands of jobs with it.
Those jobs are vital, and those jobs provide not only for the individuals who work there, but they also provide support for the families and the extended families in the area. So can't understate the importance of NGS for the families there.
But the plant's only customer is the Central Arizona Project, which brings water to Phoenix and Tucson from the Colorado River. When CAP said it could get its power from cheaper and cleaner sources, that left the NGS facing a future without a viable client. Jackson Brossi, the executive director for the Navajo Nation Washington office, says this would be catastrophic for the tribe's economy.
If the plant were to close, we would see between 1,000 and 3,000 individuals lose their jobs, and 90% of whom are Navajo. So in a place with very high unemployment, very high poverty, the impact would be tremendous.
The Navajo Nation currently faces an unemployment rate of 40%, more than 10 times the national average according to the latest numbers from the tribe and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Rossi says he's hopeful about the proposal and the economic security it could provide for the tribe. He acknowledged that it is still being reviewed by lawyers on all sides, but said he is optimistic. This isn't the first time that the Trump administration has tried to prop up the coal market. A similar proposal was rejected last year by the Federal Energy Regulatory Committee. However, that plan wasn't aimed specifically as a national security issue. In Washington, Pat Pobletti, Cronkite News.
Do you know where the money funding political campaigns comes from? Most Arizonans don't. And in 2016, Arizona passed a law removing regulations of dark money in campaigns. Reporter Emily Richardson spoke with the Outlaw Dirty Money campaign about how the lack of transparency affects elections.
Former Arizona Attorney General Terry Goddard is co-chairman of the campaign and wants to add the Stop Political Dirty Money Amendment to the state constitution. According to the campaign, amending the Constitution is the best way to ensure that state lawmakers can't hide who is funding their campaigns from the voters.
A few years ago, the Supreme Court said political campaign spending is free speech, and big corporations and the wealthy had a right to spend as much money as they want to influence the outcome of our elections. Suddenly, elections that were once rough became mean, and their money became dirty.
Dirty money is used to describe money that is laundered through nonprofits by corporations and individuals to anonymously fund political campaigns. Outlaw Dirty Money is campaigning for Arizonans' right to know who is influencing their elections.
I think in order to be informed voters, we need to know who's paying for those ads. We need to know why they're paying for those ads and what their agenda is. We're not trying to stop them. We're just trying to say they need to tell us who they are.
Transparency means we will be a far better informed voter, and an informed voter strengthens democracy.
To get their proposed amendment on the ballot, the campaign needs 45,000 more petition signatures.
We can do it, but only if everybody who's interested in changing Arizona government comes forward and signs a petition.
In March, 91% of Tempe citizens voted to pass a measure curbing dark money. But in April, Governor Doug Ducey signed a bill outlawing cities from enforcing campaign finance reforms. Outlaw Dirty Money has 2 more weeks to collect all the signatures they need. In the Broadcast Center, Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
For some, being an informed and active voter has challenges. I attended a workshop designed to help hearing-impaired communities get to the polls. According to a 2005 Arizona Department of Health Services report, 6 to 8% of Arizonans are hearing impaired or deaf.
I always face barriers. I mean, even if, I was born deaf, even though I wear a hearing aid and a cochlear implant, but I still face barriers in my everyday life.
By holding information sessions like this one, the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing is helping bring people with hearing impairments to the polls.
When you see the candidate campaign on TV, they're not captioned. It's not required.
Being an informed voter is hard enough as it is, but when you can't hear information like this, the task becomes even harder when you can't get the information you need. And polling places can be hard to navigate for those who can't hear the instructions. Maricopa County Recorder Adrian Fontes says voting by mail is an alternate option.
Arizona has been a leader in the nation for online voter registration. We were one of the first states to do this in a very robust way.
But more can still be done to fully accommodate the hard of hearing community.
We're taxpayers, we're people as well. We're just like everybody else, but we need the full asset and we need to be part of the society and know what's going on equally, just like everybody else.
This is the first workshop the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing has hosted, with high hopes that it will inspire change.
Local groups here in the Valley are taking a stand against the separation of parents and children.
In a recent press conference, the Puente, Arizona Human Rights Movement says they're on a mission to keep families together. Reporter Amanda Mason spoke with experts on this issue and families that are personally affected.
According to the Puente organization, between October 1st, 2017 and May 31st, 2018, at least 2,700 children have been split from their parents. I spoke with people on their reactions to the current policies. In front of the Sandra Day O'Connor Federal Courthouse, families and supporters gathered to create change.
There should be no jails and prisons and detention centers for children.
Lori Rosales, a retired social worker and counselor, has worked in prisons and detention centers, including one for families, for 40 years. She says that abuse takes different forms, and there are several risks for children who have been taken away from their families and held in a jail-like location.
They feel like they are being treated like criminals. They're not accustomed to the food, so they're not eating. They often don't sleep. Some have had suicidal ideation.
Rosales says the kids have already been traumatized in their own country. And after their long travel to the United States, they don't receive the refuge and safety they were seeking.
They've been traumatized. And what do? Unwittingly, we re-traumatize them. And I would venture to say many would feel that what we do in terms of traumatizing them is far worse than anything they've experienced thus far.
Happening against these children feels like a crime against my own humanity, my own child, my own family. And I can't sit idly by and watch this happen. I believe that all children should be set free, and I believe all adults who are their parents and their kin in any way should also be set free, because this is a huge impact on entire communities.
Puente reported an average of 45 children are being taken from their parents each day. Another speaker, 8-year-old Akemi Vargas, has not seen her dad for an entire year after he was deported before her birthday, leaving her with her mother and her 2 sisters in the United States.
Kids like me should not be in prison. They should be free and play with their brothers and sisters, go to school and get a college degree.
Vargas has a message for her dad.
I would really like to say to him to try to come back, even how long it takes.
Former counselor Rosales says that with the changes in policies over the years, the kids in detention centers aren't even allowed to receive hugs from the people in charge because of liability issues. Rosales says that what kids really need is loving care, and without that, they could develop attachment disorders. In the broadcast center, Amanda Mason, Cronkite News.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. The 2018 election season has arrived. Join us for primary and general election debates. Right here, meet the candidates and hear their positions. Arizona Horizon, your source for what matters most this election season. Only on Arizona PBS.
The 2018 midterms are approaching fast, and local advocacy groups are trying to increase voter attendance this November. Reporter Emily Richardson spoke with members behind the new movement, Me Arizona, about why midterm elections are important for local communities.
2018 is a big year for Arizona politics, with Jeff Flake's seat in the Senate up for grabs and Governor Doug Ducey up for re-election. Today, Me Arizona held their unofficial launch event where they talked with community members about what's next.
We are changing the narrative. We are changing what those politicians in those rooms are scheming, criminalizing our communities, taking away our families. That's what we're doing. We are saying, ya basta, ya me cansé, and I'm ready to fight. So
Arizona has seen its fair share of civic engagement this year, with movements like March for Our Lives, the Women's March, and Red for Ed. And Me Arizona is using this momentum to inspire others.
I think it's now a victory to go from 2010 of uncertainty full of fear to a 2018 full of hope and
and even in the possibility to change the state of Arizona, like I said, to a state that's more inclusive.
Me Arizona is a coalition created by local advocacy groups to encourage voters from underrepresented demographics to vote in the 2018 election. The coalition believes that voting in the midterm is just as important as in the general.
So we need to make sure that we harness this energy and this focus on the local elections and the local leaders that we need to rise from our communities.
We're talking about the underrepresented community, but we're not able to make that change unless we're electing leaders who are actually going to be able to connect and understand what we are going through.
Me Arizona members are hopeful for the future of the state and believe that just having conversations with members of the community will increase voter participation. In the Broadcast Center, Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
Red for Ed, Black Lives Matter, March for Our Lives, and Me Too. All of these are examples of people coming together to express their discontent for the government or society. Cronkite News reporter Emily Richardson explains how activism can help create change.
Arizona is no stranger to having citizens protest government officials. In April, tens of thousands of teachers rallied right here in downtown Phoenix demanding better funding.
We're going to keep on going, we're going to come back, and we're going to put the pressure on you because we elected you and you should at least listen to us.
According to a Washington Post Kaiser Family Foundation poll, 1 in 5 adults have attended a political protest, rally, or speech.
Individuals who've had to sit at a separate table for so long, who have been told that they needed to wait to have their voices heard, are now saying that, like, this is my Arizona, like, this is my time.
And earlier this year, Arizonans did just that. Women across the state started Let It Flow, sending pads and tampons to a state lawmaker who blocked a bill that would provide inmates free and unlimited feminine hygiene products.
In order to make it stop, he, and I really pressured the Department of Corrections to change their policy. So the women now are getting not only pads, but they're getting a lot more tampons as well.
To Maria Reboyedo, activism is important because it shows which elected officials are fighting for you.
And once you know where they're walking, that they're walking with you to pass this, to actually move forward with them together, that's the best feeling you could get, because now you know, okay, we do have power, we just need to move together.
The same Washington Post Kaiser Family poll found that 50% of rally-goers are more active now than they were 2 years ago. In Phoenix, Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
The majority of public office positions are held by men. Just 25% of state legislators across the United States are women. But as Cronkite News reporter Jordan Daphnis shows us, Arizona is ahead of the game when it comes to equality.
Our state is tied with Vermont for having the most women state legislators, 40%. Today, more than 500 women gathered at the Phoenix Convention Center for the Arizona Women Leading Government Conference to learn how to increase those numbers.
We co-founded Arizona Women Leading Government specifically because there was a lack of women at executive levels of local government leadership.
According to a study from Rutgers University, just 23% of all statewide elected positions are held by women across the country. This group is hoping to change that.
The intent really is just to work on growing more women leaders in local government in Arizona and empowering them to go take that next step in their career.
Taking the next step in heels, these women showed up in large numbers to discuss subjects like the Me Too movement and Time's Up, and to learn more about leadership.
Leadership is really important. We're all today trying to accomplish on a national level diversity in the workplace and women in leadership roles.
Phoenix Police Chief Jerry Williams opened up the event and told attendees to save a seat for a sister.
When we get in positions of leadership, we have a responsibility to have the person sitting next to you be female also. And to Ed's point, she just can't be female for the sake of being female, right? She can be a female who is working her way through the process of being where you are sitting in a seat. And ladies and gentlemen, I really think we have that as a responsibility.
A responsibility that today's attendees are happy to take on.
I'm passionate because I feel that we are in a time that we are seeing a lot more women in leadership and especially in government leadership. And I am excited to have the opportunity to work with them and network with them.
Now, the leaders of this event told me that they want to see more equal representation in their communities. For example, if a community has 50% women, they want to see 50% of women in office to represent that number. In the Phoenix Convention Center, Jordan Daphnis, Cronkite News.
We're less than 12 weeks from the midterm elections, many pundits calling it a critical day for our future. But is the democratic process safe from cyber criminals?
Arizona was reportedly a victim of election hacking in 2016. Reporter Gabriela Becerra shares how the nation and the state are taking precautions.
The National Protection and Programs Directorate is an office within Homeland Security designed to protect the nation's physical and cyber infrastructure. Representative Martha McSally questioned Undersecretary Christopher Krebs about the reported hack and how this changes the security of the upcoming election.
Just because it hasn't happened yet in 2018 doesn't mean it can't happen between now and Election Day. If they choose to, right? Threat equals capability plus intent.
Representative Martha McSally says she has concerns about the detection and solutions for election hacking. Undersecretary of the National Protection and Programs Directorate, Christopher Krebs, says they are looking at this issue as a whole, focusing on the entire country rather than just an individual state.
Looking back at the specifics of 2016, but given our broader understanding of the IT environments that support elections, we are looking at more broadly where the vulnerabilities are just in the system in general, and what are the things we can do to address those vulnerabilities broadly.
Despite this, Krebs says they engage with Arizona and other states on a regular basis.
I am continually impressed by the level of seriousness that secretaries of state and state election directors are paying to this issue. They want more information. They want more threat information. They want more information about how they can understand and manage their risk.
Maricopa County Recorder Adrian Fontes says their office has as much on lockdown as possible and stays in communication with jurisdictions around the country to prevent potential threats.
We work with local, state, and federal agencies consistently, and so we're doing everything we can to maintain the integrity of the system.
Krebs says that when something goes wrong in an election, people assume that it's related to Russia, when in actuality it could be caused by a number of things. He also believes Arizona's issues were most likely not related to Russia. Gabriela Becerra, Cronkite News.
There's fear and anger from some over expanding the light rail into South Phoenix.
Reporter Emily Richardson talked to South Phoenicians about what this could mean for their community.
I attended a community meeting where Phoenicians came together to share their opinion on the South Central Light Rail extension, and the overwhelming majority of people who live or own businesses along Central Avenue do not want the light rail coming to their side of town.
If the South community has to pay a price for bringing this project, we don't want it.
Valley Metro is planning a light rail extension that will stop at Baseline and Central. They believe it will help create connectivity throughout Phoenix.
South Central Extension is going to be critical. It will be an opportunity for people to connect to South Central Phoenix conveniently through the light rail system.
But business owners along Central Avenue are worried about the train reducing Central to only 2 lanes, causing drivers to use alternative routes and hurting businesses that would run along the light rail's path.
People will be staying away from Central because they don't want to be near the light rail. They don't want to drive alongside of it. All the other ones that have come through and been built, people stay away from like it's the plague. And that's pretty much what it is, it's a plague.
I don't want to close my doors because the light rail plus, it is frustrating when the political people don't count with the community.
Valley Metro believes the expansion will actually help businesses based on their previous extensions.
They've seen a boost in business. We've had $10.2 billion of economic development along the system. So we really hope the same thing happens for our friends in South Central Phoenix.
Some of the citizens believe the project's money would be better used to beautify their community or adding better bus routes. The South Central Light Rail extension is scheduled to start construction in 2019 and open in 2023. In the Broadcast Center, Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
Dozens of young adults gathered in Phoenix to learn how to make positive differences in their communities. Reporter Emily Richardson attended the Obama Foundation's first Community Leadership Corps program to learn more about how it is helping empower young leaders in society.
This weekend, the Obama Foundation held their first Community Leadership Corps, where they are teaching young activists organizing and leadership skills to help them enact change in their communities.
And I realized that the best way for me to have an impact is to train the next generation of leaders so that I can pass the baton and all of you can make change in your communities, in the country, and across the world.
This weekend, the Obama Foundation started their Community Leadership Corps, which was designed to empower and train young leaders to create the world they want to live in by addressing issues in their communities.
We need the next generation to show us how community involvement is going to work in the 21st century.
The program is 6 months long and teaches young adults skills they need to be leaders, while allowing them to organize their own community outreach programs. Ashton Skinner and Brianna Combs are just two of the participants who hope to spark change in Phoenix. Skinner wants to create an online database with resources for the transgender community,
so that people know what their rights are here, people know what the roadblocks are to social and legal transition and medical transition, and so that people in the trans community don't feel like they have to dig for these things themselves, because it's a lot of work.
And Combs wants to make Phoenix more sustainable.
We need to build an environment where we're able to, everybody has the same opportunity to grow and to learn and to live a happy and safe life.
The foundation will be holding 2 more kickoff events this month in South Carolina and Illinois. In Phoenix, Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
Thanks for joining us for this special edition of Cronkite News. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.